Father TJ, thank you for having us here at St. Martha.
Thank you. Welcome. Glad you're here.
And glad that you're able to make some time for us and, be so accommodating. Now, St. Martha, it's a pretty long name for a parish, right?
That's correct.
What's the full name of the
Our
parish?
full name is Saints Martha, Mary, Lazarus, Friends of Jesus Catholic Church.
St. Martha,
Mary, and Lazarus. Yes.
Friends of Jesus Catholic Church.
That's correct. And we are currently we're in Porter, Texas, but we claim to be from Kingwood.
Okay.
Because the county line is just right outside the road there.
Okay. And how long have you been here?
I have been here. I'm starting my fifth year
pastor.
Now. Fifth year as pastor. I started in July of 2018.
Okay. So
I finished 4 full years.
So the name of the parish is pretty long, but your name's pretty short, huh? Father TJ Dolce.
Yes, sir.
TJ, what does that stand for?
It stands for Thomas Joseph.
Okay.
But when I'm really feeling adventurous, I tell people it stands for Tochuku Jeku, which is my Ibu name.
Oh.
Which means praise to the God who blesses us.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I had some classmates from seminary that were Ibu, and I asked them if I was TJ in Ibu, what would it be? So Father Tochuku.
That's cool.
But Thomas Joseph, but I've gone by TJ my whole life.
Did you grow up here in Houston?
I did. Grew up in the northwest part of town. So I went to St. Elizabeth Ann Seton growing up, and then moved out, worked at St. John Vianney for a bit before I went to seminary. But I am Houston through and through.
Did you go to Catholic school or through the public school system?
I went through the public school system. I was Cy-Fair School District, graduated from Jersey Village High School. And then I went to Catholic school in college. So I went to the University of St. Thomas.
Okay. My son's going to go there this spring. This fall.
It's a great school, great Catholic environment.
We're excited about that.
It is awesome. It's grown. It's changed so much since I went there.
Yeah, they're expanding too.
They are. They're getting bigger.
Have you always thought of becoming a priest or?
No, not always thought about being a priest. No, it wasn't until college really that I thought that was something I wanted to do. So for me, it started priesthood kind of rubbing around in the back of my head. Back, I guess when I was altar server, maybe middle school age, thought about it then. But it wasn't something I ever thought, hey, when I grow up, I want to be a priest. But church was always really important to us. I mean, my parents were always at church. We were always doing something at church. I never thought ever of missing a Sunday Mass. We would just go. But I love being at church. I love being at places like this where you get the chance to pray and worship the Lord. And but it wasn't until later, until I was in college, that I thought, that's what I
Your
wanna
parents
do.
both from Catholic families?
Yes. Yeah. Lot of generations of Catholics ahead of me. So my dad's side of the family, Italian, Dolce. My mom's, her last name is Bork. So French Cajun, very historically Catholic. So my mom and dad both went through Catholic schools. We're deeply rooted in the Catholic faith, Catholic tradition.
Two different roots of Catholicism.
Yes, but still, I mean, I loved going to church. I always did. One of the stories I tell when my parents realized that maybe I was called the priesthood. I was 4 years old. My brother was about 1. We were going to St. Elizabeth Ann Seton. It was before we built a church that had a cry room. So it was just a hall, and my brother was good at screaming. And so my parents could never keep him quiet. And so they were taking turns going outside. So they decided, well, let's try to split up. One of us stay home, one of us go to church, and we'll switch until he kind of grows out of this. So I'm 4 years old, and they asked me, hey, who do you want to go to church with? And to my parents' astonishment, I said, can I go with both of you? So for a while, I was going to Mass with Dad on Saturday night. My mom stayed home with my brother. And then on Sunday morning, I go with Mom. My dad stayed home with my brother. So I was going to Mass twice every weekend. And my parents were like, well, he likes it. And he knows how to do this. But even that, I mean, like 4 years old, 5 years old, I remember thinking, church is so cool. It's so awesome and amazing. But priesthood wasn't something that was in the forefront of my mind. I just thought, church is something you do and you
It was just
it.
It was a deep-seated part of your life.
Yeah, faith was important. But it wasn't something I thought, this is what I want to do. It wasn't until like the first seeds, I think, planted were in middle school. And I was serving all the time. And I joke with people that I was a super server. I was one of the kids that would come in every single Mass and ask, hey, do y'all need another server? Are y'all one short? Can I serve with you? And so I'd served all the time, especially in the summertime when kids are away for traveling and vacation and stuff. I would serve all the time.
Oh, yeah, lots of opportunities there.
And then so you'd see the priest all the time. You're in the sacristy, and the priest would talk to you about things church-wise. And I remember Father Tony asking once, he said, have you ever thought about it? I was like, what? Priesthood? Nah.
What parish was this?
St. Elizabeth Ann Seton. So yeah, northwest side town. It's a huge parish now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's so many people that go there. But anyway, that's where I went growing up.
Was it just that one sibling?
I have one brother. That's it. Just him and I.
Younger? How many years younger?
He's 3 years younger.
Did he ever think about
No,
priesthood?
not really. But he did go. My brother did go to an Explore retreat back when he was in junior high.
And it wasn't for him?
No.
Is he married?
He's married. He's got 2 kids. It's awesome. It's fun being an uncle.
When did you really first seriously think about becoming a priest?
When I first thought about it, seriously, my thought of saying, I think I might want to do this, I was in college. I went to the University of St. Thomas. It was all the theology, philosophy I had to take. So part of the curriculum at St. Thomas, a liberal arts education, you got to take so many hours of theology and philosophy. And
yes.
I was always really good at math and science. And so I thought I was going to end up somewhere in the math and science field because I was good at numbers, good at math, good at science. I thought that's where I'm going to go. But then when I got to college and I said, man, my favorite classes are the theology and philosophy. And then I started to ask the question like, okay, my favorite classes are theology, philosophy. I love going to church. I love praying. I love serving at mass. So why don't I start thinking about that? And I did. And I started talking to the Basilians at the University of St. Thomas and said, hey, I'm thinking maybe priesthood's for me. And I remember doing a discernment summer between my junior and senior year of college. The Basilians took me up to their place of formation, which is in Toronto.
Oh.
And I got to stay there and live in the house.
How long was
actually,
that?
It was a summer.
A whole
maybe
summer?
6-7 weeks maybe.
Okay.
But I remember being there. So Father Jim Murphy, he's the principal or the, whatever they call it. I don't know if he's the principal. No, he's at St. Thomas High School.
Oh, okay.
If he's the principal or the president, I forget.
Okay.
But anyway, he's working at St. Thomas High School now. But he was a seminarian at the house where I was a discerner. I was a college student.
Oh, wow.
And so I was in Toronto that summer thinking about his priesthood for me. It was a great program the Basilians put together. And it was at the end of that summer that I realized that I think God's asking me to look into this. I think God wants me to be a priest, but I wasn't sure if it was diocesan, religious. And then I'd ask that question, like, okay, God, I think you're calling me to this, and I have to do some more discernment.
So during your high school and college, how about girls? Did you date?
No, not really. I mean, I was so incredibly busy in high school. I was involved, played basketball, I was in a band. Academically, I was trying to do well.
You played basketball and band. That's a lot of time.
Yeah, it was a lot. So I didn't have time to date, really. And by the time I got to college and dating and all that, I was like, okay, now it's time to start thinking about spouse. Is this, I mean, you're not just dating for fun at that point. You're dating to see, is this somebody I can be married to? And by the time I got into that, asking that question, I was like, I think God wants me to be a priest.
So there was no real serious relationship that you had to let go of when you explored becoming a priest?
No, not really.
Now, in high school, going to college, you start going to those retreats. That's when you're really exploring it. And what made you decide to become, a diocesan priest instead of join the Basilians?
Well, okay, so the Basilians in their house of formation had a picture inside their front door, and it was the pond that was right across the street from the house, and it was frozen. And I said, "What's that?" And they said, "Well, that's that pond outside in the wintertime." It's like that pond freezes and it gets cold enough to. I was like, man, this is not for me.
This is in Canada.
This is Canada, Toronto, Canada. Yeah. So I'm like, I don't know. So that was one thing that I said, I don't know that I could be someplace where it's this cold. And being from Houston, living here, loving the culture here, loving the people here, loving the people that have inspired me and taught me and formed me. I said, I want to get back. And so that's what it ended up being for me.
You didn't look into any other orders?
I did some discernment, but yeah, at that point it was pretty much is it to be a Basilian or diocesan. But when I graduated from college, I took a job working in a parish. So I worked at St. John Vianney as a youth minister, and I used that as discernment for me to say, is this something that I could do for the rest of my life?
So you completed your college, and
I did finish, graduated from college, and then
what was your degree?
I ended up being a liberal arts major, concentrations in biology and theology. So. By the time I graduated from college and said, I think God wants me to be a priest, let me see if diocesan priesthood was for me. And I was so thankful because I was at St. John Vianney and Father Morphin was the pastor then, and he knew I was discerning. Okay. And so he would bring me along for things that he said, hey, why don't you come? I've got this meeting. Why don't you come and sit in and see if...
He wanted to give you a glimpse
of... He did, and he gave me a nice little snapshot and like, this is what it could be, and this is something for you. So two years working in youth ministry, I knew God was asking me to be a priest, and God was inviting me to
That was kind of like
apply for the
that was
diocese.
kind of like a pastoral year of sorts.
Kind of was a pastoral year of sorts, but I loved youth ministry, and I love working with youth and the kids and running things like Bible studies and retreats and camping trips. And so I just had a good time.
How did your parents react to you wanting to become a priest?
My parents were always super supportive. As a kid, I remember parents having that conversation, like with my brother and I, like, when you think about what you want to do with life, hope you guys are open to priesthood.
Okay, that's good.
We need priests. And we were. I mean, my brother went to this Explore retreat, and I ended up becoming a priest.
So it wouldn't have been different if you were the only child or the only son.
I don't know. I don't think so. No, my parents were always super supportive of it. And they saw how much joy came to me when I went to seminary and started studying all the things that we get to study. And they see it when they come out here and visit and come to mass, and all the parishioners are like, thank you so much for
Are they
encouraging
still
your
in this
son."
area?
My parents still live in the Northwest area. Now they go to Christ the Redeemer now.
Mm.
That's their parish. But they're still around. And
oh yeah, special events and all that.
And I know they tell me that all the time. I'm super proud of you. We're super proud of you, and the difference that we get to make in the lives of people. So
that's fantastic.
It is a great gift. And I know that I am so blessed that my parents were so supportive, because I've met a lot of other guys who are priests that they don't have that same support.
Did you have any classmates when you were a seminarian that had the opposite, whose parents just did not want them to be there?
Yeah, I saw a bunch of that. Yeah, and as vocation director, I saw a lot of it too.
Mm-hmm.
And as vocation director, I'm previously the vocation director, I saw a lot of guys who just either didn't finish the whole seminary process because they didn't have same family support, or they never even entered because they didn't have family support.
Wow. You went in right after that 1 year?
I worked,
2 years?
2 years.
2 years, okay.
In youth ministry.
2 years in youth ministry. And then what was the thing that just put you over the edge and said, okay, I got to do this. I got to pull the trigger on this and enter the seminary because this is what I want to do. Was there a moment, or was it something just gradual?
It was a gradual. I remember going to World Youth Day in 2002, thinking I was going to work one more year in youth ministry and then apply for the diocese. And I remember John Paul II celebrated mass in that big field outside of Toronto. And making some sort of general comment. I think he probably said it in French, and then we were listening on the radio, so we had to hear the translation. But saying to us, young people of the church, that if God's asking you to do something, including priesthood, religious life, be open to that. Listen to him. I remember saying, all right, that's God's message right there. But I need to give it a shot. I need to give seminary an opportunity.
And then you applied, and that was it. You just went straight through the years of seminary. You didn't discern out and come back or take a break or anything like that?
No. I was in seminary. I went to seminary in 2003 and then got ordained a priest in 2009. Didn't take a break. I mean, there was challenges in discernment, as there always is for all guys, to say, is this really what I want to do? Because there was the experience of working in a parish and working in youth ministry saying, yeah, I think God wants me to do this. But then when you're actually in seminary and it's rubber meets the road, like, can you see yourself doing this the rest of your life? So that's where the challenge is.
Did you ever think about exiting seminary and saying, I just want to be a youth minister?
No, I never thought about being. When the discernment came in seminary, the question is, do I stay in seminary and become a priest, or do I leave and do something else? So I never thought, like, here, it's either this or that. But I did have. I mean, I had some of those moments, some of those days in prayer where you're like, I don't know if I really want to do this. But God is faithful, and being, steadfast in prayer, God has the guys where he wants us to be.
Now, I would assume that since a lot of our guests have mentioned this, that you might have had, do you have any difficulty with the concept of never getting married, never having children? Was that a big thing for you? Or really, was it just mainly thinking career path?
I think that is a natural progression for guys when they're discerning. So yes, I had that. I had some of those days where I was like, okay, I could be a priest, or I could see myself getting married, having a family, teaching them how to be disciples, and helping them grow. So yeah, I did have that question that rolled around in my head.
Was there any pressure, since you're the elder son, to have in your head, not from your parents, because you said your parents were very supportive? Did you have any pressure in your head that, I'm the eldest son?
No, I never had any of that pressure from inside. I always felt like a little bit of pressure of saying, there's a lot of people who need priests. This is an incredibly humongous diocese.
Yes.
And it's hard. It's hard for people to get to a mass, or it's hard for people to find a priest for confession or anointing of the sick. So if there was any pressure in that, it was saying, I want to serve this local church. And there are tons of people to serve. As the Lord says, like, the harvest is abundant, laborers are few. And that's where the pressure would have come for me, saying, all right, do I really want to do that? Yes, I'm going to do it because there's a lot of people who need us.
Were you still in seminary when your brother had the kids, or were you already a priest?
My brother got married while I was in seminary. He had his first kid right before I got ordained. Because I'm the godfather to my nephew who's older. And then I got to baptize my niece when she was born.
That is cool.
Which was an awesome experience. And then I actually gave First Communion to my niece here in our church.
Nice.
Where she came out with the family, and that was neat. That was so cool to be able to say to my family, hey, I want you to meet my parish family. My parish family, I want you to meet my family, including my niece, who's making her First Communion today.
That is awesome.
I get to celebrate in that. But yeah, that's really, really neat the other cool thing about being a priest in the family is my nephew, when he went through first confession, my brother and sister-in-law were going to take him to the big giant parish penance service. And my nephew said, well, why can't I just go to Uncle TJ? He's a priest. I could just go to confession for him.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of cool to me as a second grade. Now he's a high school student, not so much the case anymore. Now he's not like, I want to go to Uncle TJ for confession. But it was cool when he was a second grader.
When he was a little kid. You can do something a little more intimate, something out of, but now, he probably looks for somebody he doesn't know, right?
That does change. Changes, gets older. But
that's
it's
cool.
Neat. It's neat being a priest in the family.
Yeah, and you can kind of, you could see your brother and his family as they grow, and kind of live vicariously through them, and just and do they go here as well to St. Martha?
No, they live out in the Cypress area.
Okay, but I'm sure you see them every once in a while.
Yes, we do.
Your parents are still within Houston, so that's cool. Where did you spend at that time? Did they have the your pastoral year?
Yes.
Where were you?
Here. Actually, not here. It was over at the other church, at the St. Martha's in the Kingwood area.
Okay, before
so here's
this.
This is what's really cool for me is that I got to spend my seminarian pastoral year at St. Martha's. My first assignment ever as a priest, St. Martha's. My experience as a pastor, St. Martha's. So I've been associated with this parish for a long time. So
you're really the son of this parish.
I am. Yeah, and what's funny is I didn't grow up here, but a lot of people think I'm from Kingwood because I did my pastoral year. I was a priest here. I was as an associate. Now I'm pastor. So it's really cool to be associated with this parish now it's 16 years since I first stepped foot here as a seminarian.
Wow. Who was the pastor at the time?
Father Borsky. And that's why I was back here as a parochial vicar, and I think that's a big reason why I'm back here as pastor is because he was on the personnel board both times when those assignments came up, and such a great advocate, such a great mentor, such an amazing priest.
Were you able to request? When
no, it doesn't work that way. We don't, as priests, we don't have any say. But the personnel board, the personnel board does. But that's what happened. I was with Father Borsky for a year as a pastoral year seminarian. I get ordained. Father Borsky was on the personnel board. And maybe the conversation was, he's like, hey, you know what? I'd like TJ to come back and be the vicar.
Because it sounds like a dream.
And then when he retired, it was kind of the same thing. He was on personnel board then, and he had a voice to say, I think this would be a great priest to take my place as the next pastor at St. Martha's.
It seems like a dream assignment for you.
And it's amazing because I got to spend so much time with Father Borsky. So I got to see his vision for the parish, and I got to see how he liked how things kind of fit together. So I got to see that. And so there was a nice, smooth transition from when he retired to when I got here. And I'm such a big fan of him as a priest. I mean, he's such a great priest, such a great mentor.
Oh, we love it when he's there at St. Faustina.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your ordination. Do you remember anything about that day itself, the wedding day?
I remember my ordination day.
What sticks with you about that day?
The day itself. The way I'm sure you've talked to the other priests about this. The way it works is the day before you get ordained, you meet with the cardinal and he gives you your assignment.
Yes.
And so he gives you the assignment and he says, like, you can tell whoever you want. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to tell anybody until he asks. So I didn't tell anybody that I was coming to St. Martha's. as my first assignment.
Is that what you were really hoping for?
Well, I didn't really think it was going to be that much of a possibility. But yeah, I would have loved to. This is a parish I know. People like Father Borski is an awesome mentor.
Were you probably thinking, oh, I was there for pastoral year. Probably not going to be there as a parochial vicar.
But what I remember that day is like getting ordained and waiting for, okay, St. Martha's people, like ask me where I'm going. Like somebody asked me where I'm going.
Nobody asked you.
Some people are walking in and I wanted to tell, hey, guess what I'm going to say? But it was finally one of the youth ministers who comes up to me and he says, hey, do you know where's your assignment? It's like St. Martha's. And then there was like this buzz throughout the church. And then he told everybody, and then they were all coming back to find me. And they're like, it's true. Are you coming to St. Martha's? Are you coming to St.
That's hilarious. So nobody asked you until.
Yeah, it was what many people were coming in. And then so people were texting each other and calling each other. Hey, guess where Father TJ's going to go for his assignment. So it was really, 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 really cool.
And you got reunited with Father Borski.
Yes. And all the parishioners that I had gotten to know in my time as pastoral year and families that I've seen. So yeah, it's incredible. What a great blessing. I feel so blessed to be able to see so many families just from that 16 years being associated with this parish.
Yeah, because you can reconnect with them, see how they've progressed after a few years of not seeing them.
Yeah, and some of the couples when I was here as the first time as a priest, I did their weddings, and then they've had kids, and then I gave first communion to those kids this past year.
Awesome.
It's awesome. It's really cool to be able to walk with.
So how many years was that first assignment?
3 years.
3 years. And then where did they send you after that?
They sent me to Mary Magdalene in Humble, which is 9 miles from here.
It's not too far.
It's like the closest parish here, which was that was a bizarre experience for me because then we had parishioners that were from here that were like, hey, Father TJ, what mass are you doing this weekend? Maybe we'll come out and visit. And then I would always see people from St. Martha's around the Kingwell Humble area. It'd be a dinner on the golf course or whatever.
Because it's so close.
Yeah, it's just right down the road. We're neighboring parishes. So I was there for a year, and then I was at St. Thomas More for a year as an administrator.
Okay.
And that was another great experience there at St. Thomas More.
As an administrator, what does that mean?
Administrator means that I was a pastor without the title.
Okay.
So it's what they normally give to guys before they make them a pastor because canon law just makes it easier to remove an administrator than it is to remove a pastor.
Oh, okay.
So they give guys a trial period as administrator. Okay. And if it works out, then they make them pastor. Okay. And if it doesn't work out, it's really easy to just say, that didn't work out. So that's how a lot of dioceses kind of get around that difficulty or challenge. Anyway, so administrator, I was like the pastor, just without the title.
Okay. And you were there for how long?
Just a year.
Just a year. Is that when you became vocation director?
Yeah.
And that's why they didn't keep you there because they needed somebody there.
Can I share this story? I guess I can. It was back in the day. So when they sent me to Thomas More, they said, we're going to send you to Thomas More for a year as an administrator.
Okay.
Because the pastor that I had taken the place of he had to go on medical leave.
Okay.
So they were like, we're going to send you to Thomas More for a year. Shh. But don't tell anybody. Because after that, we're going to make you vocation director. But shh. Don't tell anybody yet. So I was at St. Thomas More knowing that I was going to be there for about a year because I was going to go to vocation. And then I remember like in February or March that year, Father Dat was my predecessor in vocation office. And then he's told me, he says, okay, we're going to make an announcement that I'm going to take over at a new parish. So now you can start telling people you're going to be my replacement in the vocation.
That's when you got
So I sat on it for 7-8 months of like, okay, I can't tell anybody.
Not telling.
This was the plan. But it was
that funny. Difficult not being able to tell
It's
anyone?
hard, especially because the seminarians were guessing, okay, Father Dad, he's getting close to the end of his term as vocation director. Who do we think it's going to be?
Yes.
And the Father Dad was always like, hey, come around to this. Maybe this will help you because when you're vocation director, you're going to need to know how to do this activity. And I'd show up and the seminarians are like, are you going to be the next vocation director? I'm like, can't tell you. Sorry. Can't tell you. And then it wasn't a surprise to anybody when I took over as the vocation director.
When we talked to Father Richard McNeely, who's currently the vocation director, when he talks about Father Dat's tenure as vocation director, he calls him the GOAT because he had like the record for the largest incoming class for seminarians. Was it tough to follow up Father Dat? Were there expectations like that to bring in a lot of guys or even just within yourself?
Yeah. Vocation director, it's probably going to be the toughest job I ever had as a priest.
Really?
Because as vocation director, you're trying to sell a product that nobody in the world really wants to buy. And that's the best way that I can explain it. Yes, it's hard. And as vocation director, all anybody wants to ask you is, how many new guys you got? How many new seminarians? So like whole identity is tied up with the numbers of guys that you have that are coming into seminary. And vocation director it's so difficult, so challenging because you've got to identify in others. Do we really think this is what this guy has? Is he worth giving a shot to go in for? It's tough. And then you got to be the guy to say no sometimes. Where a guy's in seminary and it's clear it's not working out and maybe he's not called to be a priest. So
that's tougher, I suppose.
It's so hard. It's such a hard ministry. So if you're asking if it's hard to follow Father Dad, yes. Yes, it was. Being vocation director is incredibly tough. And that's why, I mean, Father Richard, I mean, he's one of the priests I pray for by name every day because his job is so hard. And because it's so
can imagine it's like, it might be like being a military recruiter. People are trying to run away from you and you're you have to kind of follow them and they kind of want to do it, but
yeah, and one of the stories, and I was just sharing this with another priest, Steubenville youth conferences. Great opportunities. Yes. Beautiful experience for young people to come forward and get to know the Lord in a deeper way, to experience his incredible love, the adoration, the masses, the confessions that are available. It's beautiful. At the end of most Steubenville conferences, they do an altar call where they say, any boys, any girls that want to be priests or nuns, come forward. We're going to say a blessing. And you get tons of people that come up there. And the bishop gives them a blessing about discernment and the Lord's love and being faithful and listening to him. Back in the day, and I don't know if Steubenville still does this, but they would give cards to the young people to say, hey, fill this out with your name, your email address. We'll send it to your vocation director.
Okay.
So every summer I would get a stack of these cards from Steubenville to say, these are people that are living in your diocese. Reach out to them. Every year I would write an email to everybody who filled out those cards. Do you know how many times I got a response email from anybody who came and went to a Steubenville youth conference?
How many?
0.
Really?
0. No one ever responded. And I would say, hey, I'm Father TJ, I'm Vocation Director. These are all the programs that we have. Here's our website. Here's the activities. Here's the programs. You had such a great experience on this retreat. Why don't you reach out and continue to discern?
Must be very...
But then they don't...
It's like disheartening, I suppose, for you.
It's incredibly disheartening. I think it's incredibly disheartening just for the church in general. We have a huge shortage of priests and religious. Humongous shortage. The harvest is abundant. The laborers are few. And there's so many things in our culture. There's so many options that young people have that's not priesthood religious life. And we all need to pray. Pray for more priests and nuns. Pray for more brothers and sisters. We need more. We need more young people to stand and say, yes, I will follow the Lord. It's hard, yes. It's challenging, yes. It's difficult, yes. But that's the life of a Christian. It's following where Jesus wants us to go. So we all need to pray for that. And parents, if there's any parents watching, listening, please encourage your kids to think about priesthood.
What's the biggest obstacle you say towards people, keeping people from religious life?
The biggest obstacle is the culture. I mean, when you think about the radical commitment it takes to follow Jesus as a priest or religious, you got to lay down everything. You got to sacrifice everything. You got to be willing to say, it's not me anymore. It's the Lord. And in that beautiful moment at an ordination or consecration, lay down on the altar. I'm dying. I'm dying to my needs, my wants, my desires so that I can follow Jesus. Our culture does not celebrate that at all. And that is the biggest challenge. And our culture says, no. You need to do what you want to do. You need to be who you want to be.
It's all about you.
It's all about you. That's the biggest obstacle is our culture. 50, 100, 200 years ago when there were less options in the world for people to choose to do that, you had more priests and religious.
Yeah, it seems like more people want to be social influencers or nowadays than religious life.
Anything other than, laying down my life for a bigger cause. But yeah, that's what I would say that the biggest challenge was.
You had a short stint, though, as vocation director.
I don't know. It was 4 years. Felt like 40. On Wednesday, it was short.
Because Father Richard said that normally it's about 7 years, but you had it for 4 years?
It was 4 years.
Because Father Borski was retiring here at St. Martha.
I think that had a big part to play in it, yes.
So did he choose you, or do they not say anything? Because you said he was on the...
I think he had a voice. I mean, he was on the board at the time. And I don't know. It's, I don't know what all went behind the scenes. But I'm thankful for my time in vocation work. I'm thankful that I was able to walk with so many guys. And it's neat to see some of those guys that I helped bring into the seminary, I helped mentor. Now they're getting ordained as priests.
Are they your first batch? Have they already been ordained or?
Oh, the batch is different because some guys came in and they only need a couple of years of formation. Like Kingsley, Father Kingsley, he was one of the first, and he only needed a couple of years of formation because he had done a lot of formation elsewhere before. But these guys that were just ordained, Father Jacob Ramirez, Father Christopher Meyer, Father Luis Garcia, they came in under my.
Oh, that's
they
cool.
applied when I was vocation director.
So that must make you feel really proud to see them.
Yeah, it's like
take the whole.
Yeah, it's like being a dad when you watch your kids graduate, move on to the next cool, awesome thing in life. Yeah, that is neat. It's cool to see the guys give their lives to the Lord, be willing to walk this walk too.
That is so cool. Yeah, it is kind of like being a dad when you bring them in, you kind of take them under your wing as a vocation director, and then you see them through the seminary. So you have a lot of communication with the seminarians as the vocation director, huh?
We do. Yeah, we help them out. We're there for them.
So it's not just recruiting, but it's also nurturing those guys as well.
Yes. So yeah, it's seminary support, director of vocations and seminary support. So and that's one of the things that I do miss about being in the vocation office was watching those guys grow year after year, get a little bit more mature, learning their pastoral lessons, going on pastoral year, and then coming back and saying, "Hey guys, I learned this incredible thing that happens." And it's really cool to see the guys who are thinking about giving their lives to Jesus see that and experience that themselves, of how transforming the love of God can be.
Did you look at them and say, "Yeah, this guy's going all the way"?
Yeah, that's a
or is it just too tough to say?
It's too tough to say because you think everybody's got the potential that goes to seminary to be a priest. But there's a lot of other circumstances that come up. I mean, guys, they fall in love or they realize, I don't really think this is for me. I'd rather do this. I'd rather do this other thing or whatever situationals happen. It happens in life. So no, I never went in and thought, yeah, I think this guy's going to do it. I mean, my job was more to say, these are these weaknesses that this guy has, and this is what he needs to work on. And these are opportunities or programs that I can plug him into during the summer, during the school year to learn from so he can grow and have a better chance of making it as a priest.
Now, you said that there's some guys it's tough when they're not meant to become priests. What are the most common reasons that people would discern out, or things that you've just seen a lot of? Is it because
support is one?
Really?
Guys who don't have support of family or friends, it's harder for them to be able to say, all right, I got everything I need right here to be able to make it. So guys who don't have supportive families and friends, that's a huge challenge. Celibacy is a challenge. It is a hard way to live our lives, to say, I am going to make sure that the relationship that means the most to me in my life is the Lord. It's hard. It's hard to say goodbye to family and a wife and kids and stability, of freedom of where I'm going to live and who I'm going to live with, because that's another challenge in priesthood that we get sometimes. We have no say in who's going to live in the rectories with us, and that can be tough
and
for guys.
And it changes every few years.
It can change every few years or every year sometimes, depending on how often guys get moved around. So so I think all of those things come into play in guys' discernment. I don't know that there's one particular issue that says this is what keeps guys from being able to go forward,
but family support is something that really is important.
Yeah, it is. So and a really good, strong prayer life is tremendously important for guys.
Have you seen the opposite? The families that are a little too pushy?
Yes.
Or is it maybe?
No, that happens a lot. Where guys end up with an application because their mom or dad wanted them to apply, but they don't last long in seminary.
Their heart's not in it.
Their heart's saying that's very clear when they get to seminary. Like, he hadn't been to morning mass in a week. Like, who really wanted him to do this? And that's kind of clear that maybe this guy's not meant to be a priest.
But there are some stories. Some of the guys that came in and interviewed on our show, they did say how some of their families came around. Like Father Luis, he said how his parents came around, or Father Houston, how his family came around. So that must be make you very happy just to see something like that, because to see them go through that difficulty early on. Yeah,
and that does happen. We know that the role that having a priest in the family can play on the faith of the rest of the family. Yes, that can happen.
When you entered seminary yourself,
Mm-hmm.
did you see other guys and say, oh, he's going to become a priest and probably not me? Did you see other guys that were a little more, just say, oh, this guy's so holy. If he doesn't become a priest, then maybe you compare yourself to other guys in seminary sometimes?
I don't know. Looking back on it, I would say I didn't have that mentality, but maybe I did. I mean, that was a while ago. I entered seminary in 2003.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a while since then to say, do I remember exactly what happened at that time? But it's a natural thing. You learn as a seminarian when you watch guys discern out, when you watch guys around you that you think, man, this guy would be good at being a priest, but he's choosing this other path instead. And that's okay too. But I don't know. I'm trying to think if I did have that thought, and I can't remember now if I did. And I think if I did, that the Lord used that as motivation for me in my own call to say, yes, I'll serve you as a priest.
Going back to the seminary, now, the one thing that we always ask our guests who've been in seminary, the pranks that happen in the seminary, were there a lot during your time?
There might have been. I'm not a good person to ask about pranks. I don't know. I guess my philosophy is that pranks are a waste of time and resources. So I kind of make that known. And like, if you want to prank other guys, whatever, that's fine. But I never participated in the prank.
Were you pranked?
Yeah, I think April Fool's the first year I was in seminary. There was a prank that went on, but
What was that?
the guys moved pillow cushions outside the room and covered some doors with newspapers or something. And
But nothing too
I don't know. I'm
crazy.
And I'm sorry, I don't have this kind of excitement about, hey, pranks, hey, no. I'm like, I was in seminary to go find out if God wanted me to be a priest. And I would let guys know, and I'm like, all right, that's...
So you were a little more of a serious
yes.
seminarian.
That was a serious seminarian, yes. You could say that.
So people knew not, oh, he's serious. Let's not prank him too much.
Yeah, probably so.
Now, while you were in seminary, did you notice girls start coming out of the woodwork? What they call chalice chippers or cassock chasers. Did you have any of that experience, or no, not really? That temptation.
I don't know. Temptation is the right word. I would say
maybe
more
not.
Discernment.
I
mean, there were opportunities, and certainly when I was in seminary,
Mm-hmm.
saying, "Oh, there is an opportunity for another choice in life, marriage and family life. There is that out there." And yeah, and I did. I had an experience with with a young lady that I met when I was in seminary, and started to ask that question, like, could I
Mm-hmm.
pursue a relationship with her instead of priesthood?
Yeah, this is someone you probably could see yourself marrying.
Said,
in the future.
this could be a good fit. So
How
that
did
was part of the discernment.
How'd you get past that?
You pray through it. You say, God, what is it that you want me to do?
If you want me to,
Yeah, if you want me to go this path instead, please make it abundantly clear. And I'm a priest now. So it wasn't abundantly clear. But yeah, and I saw that a lot with guys who did find a relationship. And just the experience of when you're in seminary and you see what love is and what it's supposed to be, and the love that God has for us and how that can be mirrored in marriage. I mean, a lot of guys who are in seminary, they leave and they have awesomely holy marriages. And they're better dads and better husbands because of their experience in seminary. And so you're happy. You're happy for those guys. And then it's really cool. And then those guys have kids, and then they send those boys end up in seminary.
Have you ever had that experience?
Well, I know of it when Father Jacob Ramirez was here.
Yes.
He was a pastoral year seminarian, and his dad was in seminary.
Yes, that was awesome. When he was just ordained, yes, and his uncle, the bishop, was there.
And his older brother, who's a priest now too.
Yeah.
So you see it. Where their family was his parents are so supportive of the option of priesthood, and two of their boys are now priests.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's like, okay, I won't give you one priest. I'll give you two priests.
Right. It was awesome. I mean, it is
family,
awesome to see. And there are guys, I'm sure there are guys in seminary that we're going to see 20 years from now that their sons will be in seminary as well. Maybe multiple sons again.
So how many years did you say you were here again as a pastor?
As a pastor. I just finished my fourth.
Your fourth year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And are they going to move you again within the next few years? Or
I don't know.
Usually...
I'm here as long as the cardinal says I need you here, or his successor. I don't know. I'm here to serve.
Because what I've heard is usually you move 7 to 10 years, somewhere around that.
My experience is they talk to the pastors after 6 years, and if they're happy there, then they might leave them for another 6.
Okay.
And then maybe another 6. And then in some cases, another 6 after that. I don't know. I'm here to serve.
As of now, you're just focused on here and now and serving your community till the, as long as God wants you here.
Yes.
What advice would you give to somebody who's, being someone who was a vocation director? What advice would you give to somebody who's thinking about religious life?
Say pray. Number 1, pray. Ask God, what is it that's going to set your heart most on fire to love him? And that's primary, because God creates us to love him and to serve him. And however that looks. If a guy's interested, priesthood, religious life, ask the question, do you feel like you can serve for the rest of your life? Serve the needs of others and serve the Lord. And if the answer to that question is yes, then maybe God is calling you to be a priest or a brother. And to the women out there too, young women that are watching this as well, can you see yourself serving? Can you see yourself giving up the things of the world to serve the Lord? And he does. He's calling. He's calling a lot of people.
What about to the parents that might not be so comfortable with letting their son or daughter entering religious life? What would you say to them? Since you have a lot of experience as as vocation director, you've spoken with a lot of these parents. So what would you say to a parent whose maybe son or daughter's thinking about it and they're kind of hesitant?
I didn't win a whole lot of friends when I would say this, but I would tell the parents, don't be selfish. Your child has been given to you as a gift by God. Mm-hmm. And God knows what they need most to be happy and to fulfill and serve him with their lives. So don't be selfish. I mean, we got so many parents that want grandkids. You can't do that. Your family name's going to die. And all those, but it's like, this is a selfish cultural, I'm thinking about me. Parents, think about the church going forward and how many lives that your son or daughter can touch if they decide to serve the Lord as priest or religious. So I know I'd upset some parents when I would say that, but it's true. In today's culture, society, where families are a lot smaller than they were 100 years ago, it's a lot less likely to give a child to the church to serve.
It's a larger percentage of your children you're giving away.
That's right.
As compared to when families had 6 or 7 children, right?
Yeah. But it's, just parents, don't be selfish. God gave you your son, your daughter, and offer that child back to the Lord to say, I give this child to you for your kingdom. So I don't know. I hope that helps. And I hope parents understand what an incredible gift it is to have a child who's a priest or brother, sister, nun. Just the life, the impact that those children can make in the world if they give their service to the Lord, the church.
So we were talking earlier before we sat down here about sports. Now I understand that you pull sports into a lot of your homilies.
I do. I think that sports are a modern day parable. I mean, Jesus always talked about things that were going on in those times. He talked a lot about gardening and talked about traveling. We just, hear some of the great parables about the lost son or the prodigal son or the good Samaritan. I think sports lend themselves to help us understand more about the allegory of faith and hope and of life. And most people they can relate to sports because they either played it themselves or they've got a kid who's playing a sport right now. And so I just think that sports are a great way that we can evangelize, that we can use sports as an image for life. And, I think we're blessed too, because sports in some cases are the one thing that we can still agree to disagree on. We disagree on politics and on philosophy, but you can watch a good game, and at the end of the day, a team's going to win, a team's going to lose, and you can shake hands and say, "Hey, good game. We'll try to get you next time."
Yes, and you can have there's that mutual respect in sports.
Yeah, that we've seen the loss in a lot of the rest of the culture. But then I say that, and then there's people who still like, "There's too much politics still in sports," and then you talk about the money in sports that turns people off.
Yeah,
you just talk about guys who get these humongous contracts now. But I stay away from all of those kind of issues of it. It's just like, let's focus on what sports are supposed to be.
Yes.
But these are people that are trying to do their absolute best to succeed and to win a goal, to win a game. And it's what we are. It's what we are in life and faith. We do the best we can so that we can win. the crown of the heavenly kingdom.
Have you played in every priest versus seminarian game
Yes.
from the beginning? And you were always on the priest side.
Yes. So I have a background story on this. I got to be vocation director, and Father Preston at the time was a seminarian. And he comes to me and he says, hey, I got this great idea. Let's play a priest versus seminarian game. And I was looking around at the rest of the presbyterate. I'm like, and who are my teammates going to be? It's like, we're going to get smoked, and I'm not interested in that. But then he got ordained, him and his classmates, and Father Nicholas, and then those guys and the guys that we've had since. It offers a little bit more competitive now. But in this past game, I mean, this is what I felt like would have happened if we'd have played the game when I was vocation director to start with.
How tall are you?
6'2".
6'2". Okay. And are you one of the taller guys
on the priest team? Yeah. But the seminarians got a couple giants.
Oh, they're huge.
Luke and Raymond are big guys.
Yes, and I noticed that during the game, you were probably one of the tallest guys. So you were down there, and they had the height. Yeah. It was I believe it was pretty much you and Father Houston who were kind of battling down there with those huge guys.
And Father Robert Murphy, he's a big body too. But I don't know. It's a fun game, a fun event. It is so much fun. Because I think what's great for people to see is that priests are people.
Yes.
We're regular people too. And hopefully this interview helps people see that as well. Mm-hmm. We're just regular guys.
One thing I noticed that during the game was how competitive it is. It was a lot more intense than I thought it would be.
Was that the first one you attended?
It was the first one I attended in person. Yes. Yeah. I've seen some footage of the previous ones, but this past game was the first one I saw up close. And I was up there by the announcer's table. I was sitting there and I was doing some courtside interviews and stuff, and you could see the action, guys really banging into each other. And a few times you could see, okay, they just contain themselves because you get a little frustrated. Somebody, you look like you've got an open layup, and then somebody hits you on accident, or you bump into people. And then you kind of see them, you're just containing themselves. It must be hard, towing that line between being very competitive and not going overboard.
Yes.
But
it's such a fun event and such a fun game.
It is.
Such a fun game, such a fun event. And I hope it continues to grow every year.
Oh, yes. I mean, there
more people come. Everybody who goes says, man, it's fun. You should go. And they bring a friend.
Yeah. And there were several buses full of parishioners just coming in. Like, we're bringing so many people, bring buses. And that's what happened. Yeah. It was a lot. I mean, I think it was pretty full. One of the security guys at Rice, he said to me, this is the fullest I've seen this place. He said, this is out of any event that they've ever had there. He said that was the most people that they had. So for seeing, future, you'll still be playing.
I want to play as long as I can. I love basketball. I love the game. I've been playing as long as I can remember. So yeah, I love basketball. It's clear though, Father Time is undefeated, and I am not the same player that I used to be.
Well, we got some. We've got this past year. Now we've got Father Christopher. We got Father Jacob. So a couple of guys from the other team are coming in.
Yeah, but the problem is when guys get ordained a priest, they're not as available to practice.
That's true.
When Father David Michael was a seminarian, he was awesome in his last game, and he struggled in his first year as a priest. And it's hard to get the priests together to play and practice. Yeah. Well, I mean, I saw the podcast you guys did before the game.
Yeah.
But that's true. I mean, the seminarians all live in the same place, so they can say, hey, after dinner, let's go play.
Yes.
And with those priests, 6 weeks out, we're like, hey, let's hold this date to practice, guys, and see if we can all get together.
And
half the guys will show up.
It's just a few weeks after, maybe about a month or so after Holy Week. So that's like the busiest year for priests. Yeah. Busiest week for priests. It's a couple of weeks. So,
but it's always busy in parishes, and we're coming from all over. Our diocese is humongous. So to get all the guys together to just, let's come together and practice. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But that's the key. I mean, and you saw it in the game when you watched it. It's like the seminarians had more, they were better able to execute their plan because they had more time together.
Yes. And they were able to play as a team against other teams. They went to a tournament. They did pretty well until I think they burned out in the last game. But I believe your coach said that game was the first time you were all together.
Yes. That's correct. But it's still a fun event.
So do you have any predictions for next year's game?
Depends on how much we can get together to practice. I mean, I don't know. I predict we're going to have a full house again. We're going to be busting the seams. Everybody's going to have a great time. And we're going to celebrate Catholicism and priesthood.
When you were vocation director, did you think, oh, this guy would make a great priest, but it'll be tough to play against him as a at the priest versus seminarian game? Did that thought ever enter your mind? No.
No, it didn't. No, it's a great event, though. It is a cool event.
Oh, I had loads of fun. I can't wait till the next one. Well, thank you so much for giving us your time.
My pleasure.
Letting us come here to St. Martha's. Beautiful, beautiful church.
Thank you.
How many families do you have here?
About 7,400 families.
That's huge.
And we have over 23,000 names in our database here at the parish.
Is that one of the biggest ones in?
It's probably top 10 or 15 in the diocese.
I would think maybe even top 5. It's
huge. I don't know. I think Conroe's bigger than we are. Sacred Heart's bigger than we are. St. Elizabeth's bigger than we are. I think St. Anthony's is bigger than we are. St. John Vianney's been big for a while.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm not real sure on where we stack up in the.
You don't talk to the other priests about that?
We do, but it's so hard to tell with registrations of parishioners because people are registered to baptize their child and then we don't see them again for years and years. So
until it's time for communion.
And then how often we take those roles out and say, well, let's take this person off because they hadn't been here in 10 years. I don't know.
Oh, that
I don't know
tough.
how the numbers. I don't know how the numbers work. I mean, I do know we get 5,000 to 6,000 people we give communion to a weekend here.
Wow.
So we get a lot of people come through our doors. A lot of people who are hungry for Jesus.
Thank you so much, for being a witness and for everything that you do, not just for St. Martha, but for for our church in general.
Thank you. Yeah. And I just want to say too, anybody watching, listening, that we appreciate the prayers from the people of God. Thank you for praying for priests, as we can feel it. We've had some tough challenges over the last few years, but the prayers of the people of God, they lift us up and give us the strength that we need to be able to serve you and your needs. So yeah, thank you. Thanks for praying for us.
Oh, definitely.
Thanks for what you do as well. Thanks for the ministry that you offer to give people a glimpse into the life of priests.